Hello and welcome to the program. The reform of the financial sector is the cornerstone of the path towards a modern banking system. Now it is especially true in Ukraine, where the fight against high-level corruption has been a rampant problem for decades now. Now, how to modernize this sector? Joining us in the studio today to expand on this topic is Yuliya Vitka, Deputy Head at USAID Financial Sector Transformation Project. Hello and thank you for joining us.
Hello.
So first, for the viewers to understand, what's the general idea behind this project?
So the Financial Sector Transformation Project is a USAID four-year program aimed at transformation of the Ukraine's financial sector with the ultimate goal to provide accessible, affordable and useful financial services to Ukrainian consumers. The program has a budget of about $25 million, and as I said, it is funded by the U.S. Agency for International Development.
So the idea is to change the banking system, to change what are the steps?
We work with banking and non-banking financial system, which includes leasing, commodity exchanges, so other services which are not so well developed in Ukraine. But since in Europe and the rest of the world they are well developed and they serve the population, we plan to develop this segment too. Now,
it turns out that 78% of Ukrainians don't want to go through the painstaking process of resolving financial conflicts or going just seeing their bank if they have a financial problem. How to solve this problem? How to change mentalities?
Yes, indeed, our survey has shown that about 80% of Ukrainians don't want to apply anywhere in case of a conflict with a financial institution. First of all, because they don't believe that the conflict would be resolved in favor of them. Some Ukrainians don't know where they should apply, so the only channel that they choose is the financial institution itself. But it's like a circle, so they don't always get the resolution they want. What is the possible solution to this? First of all, we work with the National Bank and the two commissions that regulate the non-banking financial sector for them to get necessary powers, necessary tools and instruments to be able to protect consumers. Right now, there is a draft law, number 2456D, pending in the Parliament, pending its passage, that would allow and give this mandate to the National Bank and the two commissions to really penalize banks for violations, to apply other sanctions, even to withdraw the license if they systematically violate consumers' rights. Another possible solution that we are working on now is not another, but it's an additional solution, I would say. It's a financial ombudsman. It's an out-court mechanism for dispute resolution. Financial ombudsman, they exist almost in every country in Europe and the rest of the world. And it's an independent public entity that resolves conflicts, disputes between consumers and financial institutions. So a consumer will still have the right to go to the court, but in order to avoid this lengthy and expensive procedures, the consumer may go to a financial ombudsman, which will also try and resolve the issue by issuing a decision.
But if I may ask, how to guarantee the independence of this financial ombudsman? Because we saw this and we're seeing that today with the creation of the anti-corruption court, and one of the main problems is the independence of judges. How to guarantee that these financial ombudsmen will be completely independent?
Yes, this is really the main issue. And in this case, we didn't invent the Ukrainian bicycle. We looked at examples of other countries and their best experience, best practices. So the mechanism of appointment of this financial ombudsman is quite complex, and it includes a supervisory board that will actually supervise the activities of the financial ombudsman, and this supervisory board will consist of representatives of the financial market, that is providers of financial services, of the consumers' organizations, of the regulators. And then this supervisory board will also elect or select the financial ombudsman by way of a competition. So there are quite enough mechanisms plus audit, independent audit, etc., that would allow, at least it's the case in other countries, that would allow to ensure and protect the independence.
Now, we talked about the lack of trust from the Ukrainian towards financial in this 80% survey. The financial sector, unfortunately, have this reputation of being opaque. How does your project, that kind of project, helps people to understand it?
Yes, this is the greatest problem that we face. The level of trust is indeed very low, about 2-3% of Ukrainians say that they trust any kind of financial institution. It doesn't matter, a bank or an insurance company or any state body. So just 2-3%.
Which is not a lot.
Yes, it's very low. The situation deteriorates with some new services that appear, or with some segments that are non-regulated. So there is a lot of fraud or non-payments in insurance sector, let's say. So for example, if you ask an ordinary Ukrainian if he would go to an insurance company, he would say it's only in the urgent case when he has a car and has to insure the liability. Ukrainians don't use insurance for health insurance or life insurance, etc. Because there are a lot of companies in the sector which are poorly regulated, which do not submit their financial statements, and which are created just for some, pocket purposes to collect money and then not pay out and disappear within a couple of months. This is a problem. There is also another problem with so-called paid-in lending, which you can see all around Kyiv, the advertising of fast loans that you can get easily without any documents.
Like the revolving credit in the US, for example.
Yes. So they offer you quite high rates, like 1,600 rates, and people do not always understand what they use, if they need this loan, etc. So this is also very important and dangerous, I would say, and it's also poorly regulated or almost unregulated. Another area is not so popular with ordinary Ukrainians, with the mass sector yet, is, for example, cryptocurrencies, which are also not regulated, but young people tend, to try use them too. But in Ukraine, it's like a gambling, because you will not have the possibility to claim something or to go to appeal somewhere. So if you just want to try gambling, it's up to you, but it's really non-regulated.
But if we talk about cryptocurrency, for example, it's a good example, because it requires a certain understanding of the system. It's not necessarily easy and accessible to anyone. Does your project provide that kind of understanding of the financial system?
Yes, I would say that most of our activities are aimed to educate Ukrainians of different kinds of financial services, starting from classical ones like deposits, loans, how you get back your deposit, what is the guarantee amount, loans, cryptocurrencies, or any other kinds of services that are legal on paper in the law, but they are not always well supervised. So we do a lot of education. In the past, our previous project developed even textbooks books for school children. So some of the schools that joined the program of financial literacy course, they teach this course for the children of higher grades. There is also a big program in the east of Ukraine that is taught by our subcontractor Ukrainian Women's Fund, and it's aimed at some vulnerable population like pensioners or unemployed or displaced people that are most often targeted by fraudsters. So yes, we do a lot of training, education, plus we do a lot of legal drafting work. We work with the regulators like the National Bank or Securities Commission, and with the Parliament, with the Finance and Banking Committee of the Parliament, to embed necessary protections in the legislation and to have it passed.
Now you're also, because it's a USAID project, you're also funded by some US money. Now, how did the subprime crisis in 2008 help, and this experience from certain funds from the US help into that kind of project? Was it an emergency to create that kind of project after the crisis and after this?
I would say that we had previous projects too, almost starting from the Ukraine's independence. USAID was providing assistance in this area, but more in corporate governance, in capital markets. And then indeed, after the crisis, it was obvious that there was the need for a more extensive and broad program with a bigger budget, and that is how financial sector transformation program appeared. And yeah, the funding increased too, especially with the events in the East, with the Russian aggression, and with the financial sector crisis. It all helped to increase the level of assistance.
Now, do you see, I would like to conclude this interview, what's the next step here, and do you see that kind of program being used as a fight against corruption, high-level corruption, for example, like Prozorro is becoming one, or do you see that kind of thing being implemented to that level?
Yes. Anti-corruption activities now become the core, I would say, or the cross-cutting activities that we perform in any area, if it's banking or non-banking or capital markets or digital finance. So in every area where we work, we try to tackle corruption. We try to help Ukrainian government to develop and implement anti-corruption programs. So this is embedded into our program. Actually, we have two main goals. It's fighting corruption and increasing access to finance, both to Ukrainians, like citizens, and to small and medium businesses.
So fighting on two levels, which is like petty corruption and a high-level corruption.
Yes.
Well, thank you for this overview of your project. It was a pleasure to have you in the studio today.
Thank you.
That was Yuliya Vitka, Deputy Head at USAID Financial Sector Transformation Project. Thank you for watching the program. Stay tuned for the rest.